Hello everybody, this is the first of a few tutorial videos that we're going to use to make your fidget spinner. So to successfully make our fidget spinner, the program that we're actually going to use today is called SolidWorks. So there's a few different options on your computers. You're going to want to pick the SolidWorks. It should just say SolidWorks 2017, not the Composer or any of the other variations. You also see that we have the electrical variation. We do not want to click on that one. So to get started, you're just going to want to click and open SolidWorks, and it's going to take a few minutes to load. It's a pretty big program. Yep, that's okay. So an example of a fidget spinner that I've made in the past before with some kids last year. This is the one that I decided to make last year. Big Batman fan. So with the skills that you learn in this tutorial, you'll be able to make whatever fidget spinner you want, and we'll be able to print that for you some point. Usually it takes a few weeks to get a really awesome fidget spinner designed and created, and once we have all that going for us, we can start getting those things printed. But this is kind of what we're looking forward to, and this is my example of one that was pretty fun to make. So you'll get all the skills to create and design your very own fidget spinner, which is pretty cool. You'll have one like no one else in the whole building. So let me close out of that really quick. And when you open SolidWorks, you're going to have a program, and your window should look just like this. So what you're going to want to do is go ahead and go up to this new, Control New right here, and you're going to open a new file. There's also three different options here. We're going to start with the part. So go ahead and click part, and hit OK. All right, so as you're looking around in SolidWorks, you're going to see a lot of different options to do things. So this is the program that people actually use, real engineers use to create and design different objects. So it's pretty sophisticated. There's a lot to it. We're just going to glance the very surface of it to create your fidget spinner. You're going to see that there's a front. You can look at the top of your object to the right, a few different hotkeys for that as well. But we want to start right here on the front. So all you have to do is click the front. Okay, and it's going to highlight this front piece for us. If you're moving your mouse, so you'll see if you right click off, it kind of gives you some more options to do different things. If you click down on the mouse wheel, so your scroll wheel, if you scroll up, it's going to zoom out. If you scroll down, it's going to zoom in, and it zooms into wherever your pointer is at. So you see if I put my pointer way over here, it's going to zoom in all the way to that location. But we want to be kind of towards here. If you ever lose track of where you're at, if you hit the space bar, you're going to see this orientation box pop up, and it's going to give you the ability to look at whichever side of the object you want to look at. So we're dealing with the front, so most times we're just going to click the front, and it's going to center the front for us, which is really helpful. We want to make sure that we have the origin. All right. If you click down on your mouse wheel, like it's a button, right? You can kind of spin your camera face and look at different sides of an object as well. And we'll be using that a little later once we have some objects populated in our menu. But SolidWorks consists of three main components. So every time you do something in SolidWorks, you're adding one of these three main components. So the first is you're going to have a sketch. All right, so once you have a sketch of something that you want to create, you're going to add a dimension. That's step 2. So far we have step 1 is sketch. Step 2 is dimensions. All right, so you always want to have a dimension on whatever object you have. And then third, you're going to either extrude or cut that object. So extrude means you're adding material. Cut means you're removing that material. So depending on what you're looking to do, we'll do both extrudes and cuts throughout the video. But you're going to have to kind of decide what you want on that project. So this very first project that we're going to do, that this video is going to help you do, is we are going to create our own fidget spinner. It's going to be a really generic model of one that everyone's going to create. And then with the skills that you learn from the video and from asking questions and getting help, you will be able to create a fidget spinner that is uniquely your own. But everyone is going to create this sample one just to make sure we're all on the same page and learning the same skills. And then if you keep on working through that, after you've completed that, you get to create your own fidget spinner. But back to SolidWorks. So we'll make sure we're on the front here. We're going to start with our sketch. So step one is always a sketch. If you look up here, you're going to see a bunch of different options. So we can do center rectangle, straight shot, we can do polygons, we can do splines, which are curved lines, you can do circles, straight lines. We'll be using quite a few of these options. Each option has a check down box. So you'll see in line, there's actually a few different styles of lines that I can use. Same with circle and spline and all of these different options. So keep that in mind. We're not always just using the generic line function or the generic circle function. Oftentimes we'll be using a different piece of this or one of these different options. But what I would like you guys to do first, so make sure you're in Sketch here. You're going to go to center rectangle is actually where we're going to start. And you're going to see I have a little pencil on my cursor where my cursor used to be, and it has the center rectangle right on it. So what I want you guys to do first is you're going to line it up, and you can see how my cursor turns yellow. So if I remove it, and as soon as it's lined up with the origin, we're going to have that yellow indicator box. So make sure you have that yellow indicator box, and you're going to left click just once, and you're going to pull out a square. Okay, and your square should look just like this one. When you're done with that action, hit escape, and it's going to remove that pencil from your view. So now I just have a regular cursor again. Okay, step one, we've made a sketch. That's awesome. Step two, we're going to add some dimensions to it. So dimensions are measurements that tell us how long, high, tall, etc. an object is. So if I click the smart dimension box right here, again, you'll see my cursor change, and there's a little smart dimension piece added to it. That lets me know what tool I have selected. So I'm going to click on the length of our center rectangle, just one left click, and you're going to see a number pop up, and I can kind of move it around too. Okay, so you just want to move it just a little bit off, and then left click again once it's in a good spot, and you're going to get this dialog box that's called modify. So whenever you modify this, it's going to ask you to put in a specific measurement. So you can put any measurement you want in here, and it's going to adjust that line to that measurement. For our example today, we're going to do 100 millimeters. Okay, and you'll see that 100 popped up. That means this line is now exactly 100 millimeters long. Okay, we're going to do the same for ours over here, and we're going to make that 100 millimeters long. Okay. You'll notice that when I put a number into this dialog box, I always add the unit that I want. Okay. It'll default to inches. So what we want is to always add that mm, which means millimeters, after that number to make sure that we're in the units that we want. So units are really super duper important. Okay. So once I have 100 millimeters, hit enter, and I have my dimensions. So that's step two. So I have a sketch done, I have my dimension done, and now we're either going to extrude or cut this piece. Since we're just starting, we're going to go ahead and do an extrude so we have some stuff to work with. If you look at my cursor, I still have my smart dimensions on there, so I'm going to hit escape, and it's going to pull that off. And then I'm going to go to something that's called features, just to the left here. So features, and you're going to see a few options that are available for you. So we have extruded boss base. That means we're going to add material, and that's exactly what you want to do. You'll notice that the cut pieces, the features over here that are for cuts, aren't available yet. So we haven't extruded any material, so we can't cut anything. So you always have to cut into something. So that's why we're going to start with our base here. We're going to extrude it, and we want our thickness to be 7.62 millimeters, okay? So you'll see in this dialog box over here, it says 7.62. You can either come down here and click millimeters, or you can just type them in. I usually just type mine in. All right, and you'll see that it actually adjusted that to 7.62 millimeters. So we use 7.62 millimeters because that's the height of our bearing. So we want our bearing to be nice and nested into our fidget spinner. So 7.62 is the way we go. All right. So once we have that selected, you can see that we have some thickness here, and that's exactly what we want. So if we're ever happy with something that we've done in SolidWorks, so now we've done our third and final step of this first sketch, is anytime we are happy with what we've done, we're going to hit this check mark, and you can see I have our base. So this is what we're going to start out with for our fidget spinner. Okay, so our base is nice and beautiful, just the way we like it. Okay. That's going to conclude this first video. Each video will be about 10 minutes long, and I'll show you different steps along the way. So this is the basics one. So remember the key learnings from this one. Anytime we do something in SolidWorks, we're going to create a sketch. We're going to add dimensions to that sketch, and we're going to extrude or cut that piece. So those are the 3 steps. Every single time we're doing something or creating a new piece or adding or modifying something to our original base, we're going to create a sketch, we're going to add dimensions to that sketch, and then we're going to either extrude or cut that sketch. Okay. So go ahead, keep those things in mind, and if you have your completed base, should look just like this, go ahead and check in with Mr. K just to make sure that everything is there, or whoever is helping you out. Just go ahead and check in and make sure that you have the correct base started. And then once you have gotten the all clear, go ahead and move on to the second tutorial video.